There we go. Now we're live. There we go. Hit the like, everybody. We're gonna start in just a couple minutes, not a couple seconds. Let me get up and running on the other channels, and then we'll get ready to go. Here we go. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's see if this works.
How, in the name of Zeus's butthole, did you get out of your cell?
Let's see. I think we can get started. Hold on. Well, let's see. Let me just go with, if I may, right again. You're welcome. Happy Motang Monday, everybody. Hit that like, the subscribe, the other stuff. Share the show out. Let people know we're here. Hello, Steph heads. Hello, Bryantologists. So confused, disappointed. All these people are turning their backs on Biden. Okay, so this is a good point. Reza brings this up in the chat room, and let me jump right in here, chat, if I may, about being, disappointed at all these people that are jumping on the anti-Biden bandwagon. Okay. Think of this as a good lesson in the sort of the lifespan of a talking point. Yeah? Does that make sense? That you'll see one where you'll hear the inklings of it, maybe even people who are early adopters, in the talking point zone. They're the people who stay up, who camp out the night before for a new Apple product or concert tickets. There are those versions, right? And then there are the people who drag a little behind them or cue off what they're doing. Then there's this sort of cascading effect. You'll see like a groundswell of the idea, and basically they're workshopping the idea everywhere around it. It seems to be the conventional wisdom. There are a bunch of people who don't want to be left behind by not being up on the talking point, right? They don't want to feel like they're outside of it. And also, on the Democratic side of things, I will say that there is a distinct difference between the right-wing media and the center and left media in this country. In that, on the Democratic side of things, we proudly kick the tires. We don't have an issue. It's the same thing as allowing us to broom Menendez and say that if Bill Clinton engaged in anything with Epstein, then the hell with them, and I'm fine with that. They can't do that on the right. I posted this morning on Shitter specifically. I shittered. Yes, I see your response, Audrey. I will address that in just 1 second. So there's this kind of, you can see like the kind of, it's like a worm, it's like a anaconda that swallowed a goat. It's really thin at the beginning, then it grows really big, and then it goes thin again at the end, and it always ends up with a giant pile of shit. And in this particular instance, and I addressed this with our dear friend Michael Ian Black, my brother from another VH1 show, where he wrote an op-ed for Daily Beast about it's time for Biden to go and all this shit, which it ain't. And I distinctly said to him, because he said, if Biden wants to quell this, he'd be out doing campaign stops and doing a lot of interviews. At the exact same time that Biden was out doing a lot of campaign stops and doing a lot of interviews. And I pointed that out to him, and I said, and I tried to make this distinction, that there is a difference between kicking the tires and knifing the tires. And you can tell now who was kicking the tires, which I'm fine with, right? I gotta say, you gotta, kicking the tires after a debate like that. That's what happened to Obama. It happens in a lot of these situations. There were similar stories about Obama after his first debate with Mitt Romney. We're like, maybe he's a transitional candidate and he's in over his head and maybe they need to move on to somebody else. Same shit. And so, yeah, it's a bell curve, right? Exactly. Except a bell curve that ends in a pile of shit. But over the course of watching this talking point kind of grow and fade, there are people who are like late adopters. It took a lot for them to be drawn into it. They don't want to. Their predisposition is not to jump on somebody they like, but they also don't want to be caught flat-footed. So those people are the lag behinds, and I would say Rob Reiner is one of those people. The same thing is true of Michael Moore, although oddly enough, it's hard to read where, Michael Moore's kind of these days and has been for the last decade in the sort of Jeremy Corbyn camp of allegedly on the left of things, allegedly on the Democratic side of things, but always seeming to run interference for the Trumps of the world a little bit. It's sketchy. That's it. And in this particular case, Rob Reiner, by the way, is not one of those people. Rob Reiner genuinely cares. But I think he's just late to get up off the couch with this talking point, and he's in the drag behind. Jennifer Rubin writing articles today, or even Bill Kristol, which, why we would listen to him anyways, is ridiculous, other than the fact that he hates Trump. As a never Trumper, he's got a broken clock kind of circumstance, but the rest of the time, fuck him. Seriously. But in the case of Rob Reiner, I forgive him for saying that part. Even Stephen King did it too. He's in the exact same lag. And you can watch both of them in the environment that they are in the people they are surrounded by, in the free time that they have, being well-to-do, right? And being able to drink from the fire hose of news, but also having a very insular crowd around them, or maybe even nobody that they talk to except online. There's a lot of that. I would argue that Jordan Peterson is exactly in that camp on the right side of things, that he's in a weird, lonely cul-de-sac of paranoia, and once he locks into a talking point, he can't let it go because his ego's on the line, right? So, they are the late adopters of this storyline, right? That's who these are, and that's, by the way, how you can tell it's dying. You can tell it's dying when those folks finally get on board, because they're that far behind the arc of this. Unless it's something that they've, you don't have to sell them on. And I don't know what the arc was, because I don't think any of us are aware of it, like how anti-Trump that, these folks were at the very beginning, how they were they kind of were doing their thing and then caught up by the time it was already, he was already a monster, right? And so it didn't take anything for them to swell into, maybe this guy's fucked up. Everybody else did that, and they just kind of walked in the middle, right? The same thing, may have been true, in terms of how they feel about Trump this entire time. The Biden one is a great example of watching them catch a talking point, ride it, and then fall off. And it's just a reality of those folks. And I think they mean well. I just think it's lame. Just saying. I'm not worried that they're going to have an impact. That, Biden's not going to, hang up on Morning Joe, where he was just absolutely grounding and pounding all of the naysayers, and then go, wait, Rob Reiner said, oh, well then never mind. It's not going to work that way. Yeah, okay. The other thing too is, on a material level, let's just lay this on the table and leave it there for the entire conversation. Since the debate, Biden has either tightened his race in the swing states or overtaken Trump in a couple of them in every major poll. So the debate did not, if you're going to call it disastrous, you need a disaster, right? You have to have a disaster for the debate to have been disastrous. And all the signs are pointing that the electorate, in large part, breezed right past the debate. And as a matter of fact, this is the scariest thing for the right, I would argue, right now. And Tara Dublin's going to be with us in the second hour, and we're going to look at some of the trending stuff right now, and in a minute to kind of address these things across the board. But the voters have already decided. This is the scary part for the Republicans right now, is that there is no October surprise that's possible this time around. And if there is, it's just a stack on top of the awful that Donald Trump has already been pegged with in the Epstein files that are going to continue to leak out, or perhaps Jack Smith's evidentiary hearings, which will be like a mini trial right before the election. But Biden voters are already all in, and it happened at Roe. Roe-vember has already sealed the deal on a huge chunk of the electorate. There are fewer voters at play in this election than almost any other time. And again, I don't care what Nikki Haley said, after she dropped out of the race and how she might cling to Trump a little bit. Her voters did not come with her. They were not voting for her because she's of her leadership skills. They were voting for her because she wasn't him. And those people are not going to vote for Donald Trump. They might not vote for Biden. They might vote for RFK, but they sure as shit are not voting for Trump. And they are not lost Biden voters. That's why Biden was on Morning Joe this morning. He's seen those kind of polls. He's seen the internal polls, and they know, what the real moving numbers are. They know. So and he also knows the way you sort of reclaim your strength in this is just not back down. He's like, if you want to challenge me we'll listen to it. Actually, I should probably, let's see. 1 second. I'll go to, I need this other, open this guy up. Let's see, Biden Morning Jew. This is, here we go. So we'll jump into this, you guys, and I will try and make my headphones as loud as I can because I don't know why they're in some sort of weird muting zone. But let's let me shrink this guy down so I can put it over here. And we'll go to, this situation. Here you go. This is Biden calling into Morning Joe.
A little different, and from inside the White House, we have a special guest joining us now, the 46th President of the United States and presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden, calling in to Morning Joe right now. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Mika, I'm more than presumptive. I'm going to be the Democratic nominee.
There you go.
Okay, well, Mr. President, that leads to the letter that we just received a few minutes ago. And I'm curious, there's a part of it where you talk about the fact that you got 14 million votes, 87% of the vote. It was an open process. You only had 3 people running against you. You have 3,900 delegates. And then you ask this question, do we now just say the process didn't matter, that the voters didn't have a say? I'm curious, is that an allusion also to Donald Trump and the fact that Democrats, you believe, may now be doing the same thing that Donald Trump tried to do in 2020, and that is overthrow the popular will of Democratic voters?
Well, look, Joe, let me say it this way. The reason I've been out on the road so much all over the country, and while Trump is riding around in his golf cart, filling out his golf cart before he even hits the ball. But anyway, he hadn't been anywhere in 10 days.
That I did not hear. Wait. Pause. Hang on.
I've gone over the country for...
That's funny. Filling out his golf cart before he even hits the ball. Okay, so one of the things that they talk about is the fact that Trump cares way more about his golf game than anybody else does. And the part about in the debate where they go back and forth about I had a 6 and I got down to an 8 was a strategy by Biden to get Trump to dig in on this horse shit. And it worked. Trump has been like grinding on this talking point, and Biden is just flicking him with this shit. Let's hear that again.
Or a golf cart before he even hits the ball. But anyway, he hadn't been anywhere in 10 days. I've been all over the country, number one. And I've gone over the country for several reasons. One, to make sure my instinct was right about the party still wanting me to be the nominee. Mm-hmm. And all the data shows that the average Democrat out there who voted, the 14 million of them that voted for me, still want me to be the nominee, number one. Number two, the idea that Donald Trump has gained in any substantial way, has his argument to why he should be president is anywhere convincing than it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. It's just not there, and we're just starting to focus on Trump. And look, I attended services, spoke to over 600 people at Mount Airy Church of God in Christ in Philly. I stopped by campaign field offices with John Fetterman and Madeline Dean, both strongly supporting me. The president and the first lady, we spoke at a campaign ice cream social for APSME, Council 13 in Harrisburg. 40 minutes after we spoke with supporters, stopped by Denim Coffee. I mean, I was with the governor of Pennsylvania, who's still strongly supporting me. I mean, so look, and the fact is that this week I'm going to be hosting NATO Summit here in D.C., going to hold a press conference on Thursday. On Wednesday, I met with the National Union leaders of the AFL-CIO. On Friday, I traveled to Detroit, Michigan for a campaign event. Just on down the line. And so I'm not getting any of what I was told. I wanted to make sure I was right, that the average voter out there still...
What he means is he wanted to make sure that Hal Sparks was right. Because I was/am. What did I tell you guys about this talking point? What did I tell you? I mean, the night of, it's why we watched the whole fucking thing. That's why we went through this. And I was like, clipped. This thing is nowhere near as damaging as everybody says it is. And the polls have bared that out since. They've borne that out since. Every single time, everywhere you look, Biden has either tightened the gap that Trump initially had, or he has overtaken him fully. Again, stop calling the debate devastating unless it actually is. You would think that debate drove him down to 20% and the electorate just had a fucking panic attack and that was it. And nowhere does it do that. Like there is no alignment between the punditry and the actual polling and not to mention the focus groups and the undecided voters and all those people that they talk to afterwards and Hispanic voters, anybody who was watching in a second language especially, they got the actual words from both candidates without the bad audio on Biden and the fucking shitty rock music and farting on Donald Trump's side. Right? They heard the words and they asked them who told the truth. And they were like, Biden told the truth the whole time. And Donald Trump was just defensive, evasive, and stupid. We had H2O. Get the fuck out of here. Biden is going to kick his ass again. And I would say the silver lining to this whole kerfuffle of everybody just, tearing at their shirts in the streets and screaming at the sky. The only upside to this that I could find, the most valuable upside besides a lot of people eating crow, is that Donald Trump is again going to get his ass kicked by someone that a bunch of other people think is demented and mentally slow and all this stuff. And that's, the impact that is going to have on Trump the man right before he goes into his trial for stealing national secrets during the second term of Joseph R. Biden and the gear up towards Gavin Newsom in 2028, which sets the whole fucking right on fire with panic. That's going to be so, to quote Ferris Bueller, so choice. It's It's going to be so fucking delicious. So I'm telling you, yes, there's another debate scheduled in September. Biden will be fine for it, no doubt. They will also take, I think, security measures to make sure that nobody slips him anything or is firing they'll flip the coin. Here's what they should do. Flip the coin and decide on the podium that they're at the place, so that whoever has the Havana ray can't point it at the one from blocks away, right up to, until showtime. Then they have to move halfway across the city to adjust it. I think they should swap podiums like hockey teams or basketball, mid-court, like, midway through the game at one of the breaks. Yeah. And TYT can go fuck themselves. They just never liked Biden, so they want him to fail. It's the Susan Sarandon effect. Every single one of the people who's after him right now either backed somebody else or ran themselves, and they just saw blood in the water. And I got news for you. Yeah, it's not blood in the water. It's the Kool-Aid you've been drinking.
Still wanted Joe Biden, and I'm confident they do. And I'm confident, and like I said, the press is with me. I think they've been fairly fair. I haven't read any reporting they did today, but the fact is that, I think they have to acknowledge we had large crowds, enthusiastic crowds. And, and now they're talking about whether I use a prompter. Well, I did it all extemporaneously. The fact of the matter is, I was using prompters too. I don't get that. But anyway, the bottom line here is that we're not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024. Mm-hmm. We had a Democratic nominating process where the voters spoke clearly. I won 14 million of those votes, et cetera. So I not only believe that from the beginning, but I wanted to reassert it and demonstrate that it's true. And I'm going to be doing that all through this week and from here on.
So we noted yesterday.
Can I also point something out? This interview is great, but can I also point out the fact that Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, both of them are partially fucking responsible for the fact that Donald Trump managed to even be considered a presidential candidate, because they would let him call in his fucking pajamas every other day during the 2016 campaign, and for like a year after, they fucking gave him the layup all the time, just codified him as a real candidate when he had absolutely no right to be. So I don't want to hear any shit from anybody about Biden called in instead of showing up on camera. The balance between the number of call-ins is off the fucking scale. Shoo. Pack your shit. Didn't want to hear it.
There was quite a contrast to the people that were...
Yes, and they let him lie. It's they just let it roll because it was entertaining. I mean, back then, maybe benefit of the doubt. Maybe they thought, well, he's good for ratings and he's not going to win. So, we'll bring him on and we'll fire up the right and they'll, be mad or it'll drive the voters to recognize what he's really saying. And so we won't push back too hard so they can see who he really is, all that shit. And it didn't fucking matter because of just they allowed him, in the same way that Trump allowed Kim Jong-un to be, recognized as a leader of his country by giving him that stage. They did the exact same thing for Trump when he absolutely fucking did not earn it. I would say it was a campaign donation.
Supporting you yesterday compared to, say, a lot of the Washington insiders and Hollywood moguls, and go down the list of very powerful people that want you out, compared to the support that you had in Pennsylvania yesterday. That said, there are a lot of people of goodwill who love you, who believe you did a great job in your first term, who are still concerned. Yesterday, the topic came up of the Stephanopoulos interview where you were asked the question.
Excuse me. And Mika's like, Okay, first of all, it wasn't an interview. It was an intervention from Stephanopoulos. That's what he intended it to be. He wanted to be the guy that made Joe Biden step down for the historic piece of tape that was there. And he didn't ask a question. That was the only question he asked. He just worded it 7 different ways. It was the same fucking question over and over.
How would you feel if Donald Trump beat you? How would you feel after you lost? And you said...
Yeah, okay. I addressed this yesterday as well. First of all, that is what is known as a terminal hypothetical. No matter what it's all about your emotional response to an inevitability, which is not inevitable at all. And the answer is always, well, I feel like as long as I did my best, I would feel okay about myself. That would also be the answer if they said, what if you step down and the person that they put in loses to Donald Trump? How would you feel? Your answer would have to be, well, I felt like I was doing the right thing at the time. I would feel good about myself because I did everything I could because I was thinking of the party or whatever. The answer is exactly the same for both hypothetical outcomes. That is a terminal hypothetical. It's a bullshit question. There is no way to not answer it unless you're going, well, I'd be pissed, which is not how you answer when you're trying to be the president of the United States. It's how you answer if you're a fucking Trumpy and an asshole and in it for yourself. It's the same answer no matter which way the direction of the hypothetical goes. That's a terminal hypothetical, and there is no winning answer. It's meant to be a trap.
Well, as long as I did the best I could do, that's the most important thing. That's caused Democrats concern who believe...
No, it didn't. I'm a Democrat. I was not concerned. Joe, Mika, I was not concerned at all, because that's the fucking answer he would also give what if you stepped down and Kamala was the nominee and she lost? How would you feel? Same answer.
that losing is not an option. What would you say to those who are concerned by that answer?
It's not an option, and I've not lost. I haven't lost. I beat him last time. I'll beat him this time. And this is a guy who, look, we talk about debate.
He's right, by the way. He's also aware that one of the other reasons why people want him to step down is because everybody else knows that the Democrat, no matter who it is going to win this year. By the fucking numbers, by the get out the vote, whoever was the nominee will beat Trump because the 2025 stuff is so egregious, because the Epstein stuff is coming out, because Trump has lost a big chunk of the Republicans. They know it. So there's a bunch of people like, hey, it could be me. I could elbow my fucking way in there. Or Kamala could go in there and I could push myself into the VP spot and tee myself up for the next one. Now, that's for those are the people who are sort of in the manipulative zone of politics. Whereas if you look at Gavin Newsom, he's very patient about it. He's not in a big fucking hurry. He's obviously trying to build a legacy of quality governance. He's trying to earn the presidency instead of trying to sneak in under the fucking wire, which is what everybody else who's calling for Biden's scalp is doing.
Look at his performance with this.
God damn, I love being right.
He lied over, Trump has 50 lies. Look, this is a guy who says 10% of the universe. I don't want to get into it. He's just a liar. And he hasn't done a damn thing since the debate. He's been riding around in a golf cart for 10 days. Was down in Mar-a-Lago talking with his wealthy friends. I'm not running because of these guys, Joe. I'm running because, and you know me well enough to know this from the very beginning, I ran because I never bought on in the trickle-down economic theory. I never bought into the notion that we have to walk away from the rest of the world and cave to Putin or anybody else. I've never believed any of that. And I'm confident that's what the American people are. So what I did was I went out and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any slippage at all. And with the average voter, I don't care what the millionaires think. And by the way, 97% of all the people who contribute to us are people making under 200, contributing under $200. I think we have the largest.
By the way, you know why that number's so big? You know why it's not like they used to say, like they would note the regular size of a direct contribution. The reason they're saying 200 now is because of things like Act Blue and all these like sign up sites, or even the campaign where you can donate $5 a month or something like that. So that's why it adds up. So a lot of people are putting $5 in regularly since the beginning of the campaign, or have started to do that, and so it averages out about $200 to maybe $400, you know, around that zone, because people are constantly putting that money in. Again, because the people that are giving their money have already banked their vote. They're gonna fucking vote for him in August as soon as it's possible. The decision was made in 2020. For most of the Democrat, if not all of the Democratic voters. And the independents aren't tracking to fucking Trump this time. They fucking aren't.
Contingent ever in history. I'm not positive of that, but I think that's true. And so I want their support, but that's not the reason I'm running. I'm not running about what they think and what they care about. And by the way, you don't see a whole hell of a lot of them flocking to Trump. You don't see a whole lot of CEOs flocking to Trump. You don't see any. You see the major economists out there talking about what I have been able to do. I don't hear anybody talking about his economic plan likely to bring America around and keep America first. And by the way, here's Trump talking about all that he's done and you know, Trump and his debate night. He's a pathological liar. He lied about Roe. He refused to accept the outcome of the election. He refused to condemn January 6th, and he says, they claim, he spoke with Putin before he invaded. What the hell are we doing, Joe? What are we doing? This is bizarre.
Look at how that answer turned the two of them. You could tell they were riding with, okay, he's hitting these talking points. He's making sure he gets them in there. That's what you do. And then the question, what the hell are we doing? What are we doing? Both of them came around. Watch their fucking faces at this moment. Hold on. I'll pop this back for a second. Watch the trend. They're just kind of, gliding through the talking point part. You do enough political interviews and stuff, you're going to expect people to talk like this as candidates and whatever. Watch their faces when he turns it into a question.
He spoke with Putin before he invaded. What the hell are we doing, Joe? What are we doing? This is bizarre.
No.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is. Look at them. Yeah, that's two of them getting caught in their bullshit. What he's saying to them is, why the fuck are we even talking like this? What are you guys talking about over there?
I have a few questions, Mr. President, and I know you know where I stand, and yet I have a few questions. First, it's very simple. How can you assure the American people that you won't have another night like the one you did in Atlanta?
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith that can intervene on your way to go to, work tomorrow? Age wasn't, the idea I'm too old. Created over 15 million jobs, 21 million insured for the ACA, beat Big Pharma, relieved student debts for 5 million people, first black woman in the court. So I think I had a significant run, and that's how I'd measure me. Measure me what I've done. And by the way, in terms of my neurological capacity, I had a neurological physical as well in February. It's released. I released all my records, all of them. And I have a neurological test every single day. Try sitting behind this desk and making these decisions. You know it. Both of you know it. They know it. I'm not bad at what I do. And now, it doesn't mean I never make a mistake. I do. But I'm making those decisions.
Mr. President, if anybody in my family had a night like that, like if my Joe had a night like that, or my kids or anybody, I'd probably want to do some sort of workup and medical workup and make sure he's okay.
No, you wouldn't, because you'd have been right next to him while they were up till 2 o'clock in the morning talking to Netanyahu and screaming at him, and then waking up at 9 a.m. the next morning to talk to somebody halfway across the world, and then going on a campaign thing and also going, oh, you've got a bit of a cold, don't you? You'd know it. You wouldn't ask for a workup. You'd go, you need a nap. Because that's all he needed, a nap, a cup of coffee, and to not be in the path of the Havana Ray, apparently, because he was fine at the Waffle House later. He was fine the next day at the event in North Carolina. He's been fine since.
Have you been tested for any age-related illnesses, pre-Parkinson's, or anything like that that might explain sort of having a night like that where you couldn't finish sentences?
Look, I had before, I was feeling so badly before the debate. When I came back, they tested me for, I thought maybe I had COVID, maybe there was something wrong, I had an infection or something. They tested me, they gave me those tests, I was clear. So, but look, I had a bad night. But the fact of the matter is, look at what I'm doing. I mean, let me put it this way. If there was something that was wrong that night, it's not like it comes and that's one night and it goes away. That's why I've been out. I've been testing myself, been testing everywhere I go, going out and making the case.
Yeah, the idea is that what happened in the debate is the real him, and everywhere else, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. If it's age related, it's permanent. And again, it goes to that kind of idea that, what drugs could they possibly have him on that would make him not have dementia? It doesn't work that way.
The night of that debate, I went out. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning that very night. Mm-hmm. That very night. It drives me nuts, people talking about this. That very night, I'm talking to large crowds. Look at the crowds we've gathered everywhere from Atlanta to North Carolina to Pennsylvania. And look at the enthusiasm. But it was right after. And where the hell's Trump been? What has Trump said or done? Except deny and lie about what he's for.
Okay, so you have repeatedly said that all of these people and entities are...
Again, all right, okay, this is the part that gets aggravating about this. And it's the same thing that happened with Stephanopoulos. Stephanopoulos would not take no for an answer. He wouldn't take yes for an answer. He wouldn't accept the answers given. So it's another reframe of the question. Now, could it possibly be? And thank you, Barbara, by the way, for the super chat, and Sheldon, thank you. Alan Lichtman on a future show. I believe so. Sure. By the way, hit that like. Don't forget super chats. There's the Venmo and patreon.com/HalSparks. Support the show. We need your help. And I got to hire an editor at some point so I can do really short clips and all that stuff. And I'm working on it, but we're not there yet. So we need more subscribers and all that kind of stuff to reach that point. So give a thumbs up, and that helps a lot. So that said, all these other whippersnappers with these youngins with their shows, and they don't have a kid, so they can just spend all their money on editors. It's a thing. Anyways, she's doing the exact same thing Stephanopoulos was doing, which was just find a way to ask the question 10 fucking times until you get the answer you want. You're not gonna get it. Right? They're not gonna get that answer. He's not gonna go, well, all right, well, if you put it that way, he's just saying over and over, fuck you, I'm here. And that's it. And there's no appeal to emotion or appeal to fear that is going to get the guy who's basically stared down Putin for the last 3 years. When Donald Trump went there for a regular proctological exam, you're not gonna make Joe Biden wither. Doesn't work that way. He didn't even do it in the face of that debate, dummy.
Wrong. And let me go through them. The New York Times editorial board, The Economist.
Oh, dear.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Boston Globe, Jerry Nadler, Seth Moulton.
Jerry Nadler.
Let me go to Julian Castro, Tim Ryan, David Axelrod, David Remnick, Richard Haas. Yeah,
What
I
did
know
he
which
say?
one you're responding
What was
to
that
there.
line again?
Zeke
Oh, you're
Emanuel,
what?
but they're yeah, I know which one you're responding to there. Zeke Emanuel, but they're saying that you should step aside. So what is your plan of attack moving forward? These are pretty big names.
I have a plan. Attack.
And keep doing their big names, but I don't care what those big names think. They were wrong in 2020. They're wrong in 2022 about the red wave. They're wrong in 2024. And come out with me. Watch people react. You make a judgment. You make a judgment. And by the way, I'm going to have all these foreign leaders here. I've been in contact with the new British Prime Minister. Anyway, look, the country, the rest of the world is looking. Our allies are looking for U.S. leadership. Who else do you think could step in here and do this? I expanded NATO. I solidified NATO. Ask your brother about it in Poland. I made sure that we're in a position where we have a coalition of people, of the nations around the world to deal with China, with Russia, with everything that's going on in the world. We're making real progress. The Biden plan, which got in Israel for the Gaza Strip, is something that was adopted by the UN Security Council. Whether it comes to fruition, it's awful close. We'll see. G7's okay. But look, I'm not going to explain any more about what I should or shouldn't do. I am running. And if you want to stop me,
I wanted to ask you, it's so interesting. You talked about how, you were supposed to lose in 2020. You won. There's supposed to be a huge wave in 2022. There wasn't. In 2023, Republicans were supposed to win. They didn't. You could say the same thing about France. Le Pen was supposed to win in 2 years ago. She ended up getting crushed. Her party, her far-right nationalist extreme party, was supposed to win.
By the way, I'd like to draw attention to the lower third here. President Biden, I'm not going anywhere. Just stop. At some point, you have to go. What is leadership? Is leadership, this sort of like reactionary, bamboo in the wind that you want this person to be, or is it what would reassure you more? Him hemming and hawing about it, or him going, no, shut the fuck up. That's what makes it leadership. And again, they could be pushing him just to get him to go on the record like this. This could be part of it. I wouldn't rule out, because I'm alive in 2024 and I've been as long as I have. I wouldn't rule out that the White House called, Morning Joe said, we're going to do a call in or whatever. You guys need to kick the tires like a motherfucker, but he's not going to back down. You can ask him all the goddamn questions you want about it. You just spend the whole time, but it's going to be a waste of your time and you're going to piss him off. And we don't mind. We think it's better when he's pissed off now. He was trying to play nice with you assholes, and now he's not going to.
Yesterday, they ended up getting crushed. I'm curious, what message do you...
And thank you, Susan, for the Venmo. That was very sweet.
...take from the French elections and the British elections? Because we keep hearing about the rise of far-right nationalist extremism in Europe. But I've got to say, it looks like this past week has been the worst week for far-right nationalists between Britain and France. I'm wondering what you say about that and what message you take to NATO allies this week.
Look, Joe, let's get something clear about 20 and 24. Not only were they wrong, I said they were wrong beforehand. I said we were going to win and how we're going to win. I didn't pretend about it. It wasn't like, oh, my God, I was surprised. I was not surprised. I predicted it. I knew what we were doing, number one. Also,
same thing about Ukraine. Go back and watch the fucking news stories, and you guys saw me covering it, and everybody from fucking Chink's nephew and all these assholes, everybody going, I don't know, is the intel good, or is Russia really going to attack? Like, I think like Hassan had a fucking countdown. He was going to put up the number of days that Russia hasn't attacked Ukraine. Lasted about like 3 days. Biden was right. Even the Ukrainians were like, we're not sure about that. Biden was like, they're coming. Stop being stupid. Yeah, the same thing about Afghanistan. Biden all during, if you look at the any of the books about the Obama-Biden White House, one of the things that was consistent, and all these people going, Biden's been wrong about everything. Okay, first of all, he was against the surge because he knew that the generals that they were talking to were bullshitting them. There was no way to fix this. They were not going to stand up Afghanistan as the 51st state. So at some point, we got to get the fuck out of there. And there's never a good time. It's always going to be bad. And the reason nobody wanted to leave or make the final cut on it was because it was going to be ugly no matter who did it. It's why Trump didn't do it. Trump ran on getting us out of Afghanistan and didn't do shit. Because everybody around him said, it's going to be a mess. There's going to be deaths. It's going to be a slaughter. There's going to be a bunch of shit. We've been there for we've been there for 20 years. There's just no way to unwind that quickly without it going bad. And so Trump punted it into his second term, and then has said ever since that he was never planning to leave. He was going to keep Bagram. You don't leave and stay at the same fucking time. And Biden was telling Obama, and you go back and read any of the books about this shit. He was saying, look, these guys are going to come to you every 6 months and say they need 6 more months. They're always going to do it. And it will be justified because of all this other stuff. But ultimately, you will just lock us in to another 2, 5, 6 year cycle. And so when Biden came in and the date was already set, and he was like, we don't have enough time, because Trump was never intending to leave. He was intending on staying, and he was intending on staying in Afghanistan. So he set it up so he was going to punt that date too. Fuck it. Right? We know. I mean, he's even said it, right? Biden said he's done none of the homework because he never intended to leave. We're going to do it. They added 90 days to it, and they started packing everybody the fuck up and got them out of there. And it worked. And we haven't been in Afghanistan since. We were in there for 21 fucking years. And this guy got us out. And you know who the bomber was that killed our service people and a bunch of Afghan citizens on the private side of the airport gate? They were a member of ISIS-K. You know how they got through? The Taliban let them. You know why the Taliban let them? Because everybody who's smart or knew how to run anything in Afghanistan was getting the fuck out. Anybody who had a daughter they gave a shit about was getting the fuck out. And they figured if they let one of these bombers get through, it'll scare everybody away from the airport till the Americans are gone, and then they can keep them sealed in the fucking country. It didn't work. They ran for the border in Pakistan. They ran for the Iranian border. That's why when Trump says this is the worst border we've ever seen in the history of history, it means even during that time, he had no fucking idea about the borders of Afghanistan and Pakistan and the mountains on the south and Iran itself. Like, he has no idea about those borders at all. Not to mention the Chinese border with Afghanistan, which is now like a tunnel for violence because of how the Chinese treat the Uyghurs. Tara's in the background. We'll bring her in just 1 second. Very exciting. We got another minute of this, and I think, and then we'll give me 1 second, and I'll bring her in.
You might remember, I was one of the few people out there publicly saying before the 2022 election, there will be no red wave. There will be no red wave. Because I've been all over the country. I didn't believe it at all. And then in 2023, the key elections, I went into those races. Not every one of them, but a lot of them. And I said we were going to win. Look, we won those. So, Joe, it wasn't just that it didn't happen. I was predicting beforehand it would not happen. Because I've got a pretty good political instinct and eye. And here's the deal. It's not going to happen here this time around. The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for 2 reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot, just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch.
I will say you have to give credit to Biden because he actually has a black church with black people in it. That was a thing. So it's an important distinction.
I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But any of these guys don't think I should run against me. Go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention. You know, on Europe, the polls are wrong. In France, they're also right. There's no right wave or tide here in America either. By the way, in case you're wondering whether there is one, have you ever seen Trump run away so fast from what he's for? You know he's going to do it anyway, but have you ever, I mean, he's such a liar. This guy, everybody knows what they're planning to do. And now he's saying, no. This guy is going to rip away at a woman's right to choose in a permanent way. This guy is going to make sure that he exacts revenge. This guy's going to destroy democracy. This guy's going to give a blank check to the Supreme Court and going to use its past, the 2025 agenda. You know, this guy's extremely dangerous. But you notice he doesn't speak up for what he really is for. He's all of a sudden realizing, oh my God, nobody's for what I'm for. But anyway, look, and again, think of the things he lied about. He talked about he gave the largest tax cut in history. Yeah, he gave the largest tax cut in history to millionaires and billionaires. He said that he's going to, those 10% universal tax proposal is not going to drive prices higher. Every major economist in the world is saying it's going to drive the average $2,500 per person. Only jobs we created for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs and bounce back from COVID. Give me a break. That's what he said at the convention. At the debate. Everything he said. He said, he largely fixed COVID. You kidding me? And what happened? Nobody said anything. Except me and the folks out there in the local, race. He said.
He means the independent guys out there who, I'm apparently I've been deputized as the captain of fuck you for the Biden-Harris campaign this time around, and I think Tara Dublin will join me in that. As a matter of fact, let me bring her in right now because let's see, it takes me a second, and I pop into here and do a little clip here, and ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Tara Dublin rocks. Hi.
Hi.
How are you? I'm spectacular.
Oh boy, I'm fucking fired up.
Yes.
I'm fucking fired up, ready to go. I am ready.
You goddamn right.
Goddamn right. Is my book in the picture? Because that's what's important.
You have to move it a little. Here, I'll move you. You hold still, and there you go.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Fixed it.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's good enough. Is that wait?
Yeah, it's great. Don't move it back. I just fixed it. There you go. Leave it where it is. I know what I'm doing. God damn it. By the way, the chat is saying hi, Tara, you gorgeous creature, and hello, and all that stuff.
Hi. Hey, fuck you, Joe and Mika. Fuck you twice and sideways. I am salty for a Monday. Let's go.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck, Stephen King? What the fuck, Rob Reiner? What the fuck?
Right.
Donald Trump raped children. Why are we not talking about that? Why? Why, when it's all over the European press, it's all over the British press, it's all over the world, but it's not all over the American press? And I don't understand why. Is it hard for you to say the world's child rape, Joe and Mika?
Yes, it is.
That's
exactly why.
I'll take your jobs. God damn it. Fucking Andrea Mitchell and Katie Tur and Chris Hayes and Ari Melber not telling the truth about Donald Trump. Joe Biden had a bad night. Fuck you. You have a bad day every day, and you're still on TV. I don't know how you still have jobs. I really, really don't. You're not doing your job when you are not telling the truth about both candidates. And guess what? There's no equivalence. You know what the basic equivalence between the two of them is? They both breathe air. That's about it at this point. That's what we have. That's what we're down to. Because Donald Trump raped children. I don't care if he did it in the 70s. I don't care if he did it in the 80s. I don't care if he did it in the 90s. I don't care if he did it fucking yesterday. There is no statute of limitations on rape, particularly child rape.
Right.
And when you read those details, have you read those details?
Oh, yes, I have.
You have the MAGA people in the chat read the details, because I actually recorded the excerpt that's going around about Katie Johnson and Maria Doe, who is still missing and presumed dead. 12 and 13, they were first forced to engage in what the testimony describes as an unnatural lesbian act. They were both forced to perform oral sex on Donald Trump's tiny mushroom at the same time. So I'm not really sure how that would have happened, because it's so small that you don't need a whole mouth for it. But then he talked about, it talks about how he raped them, wouldn't wear a condom, even though they asked him to wear a condom. And then after he was done bareback raping a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old, who, by the way, he also complained that they gave him a bad blowjob so he could get out of paying them, I guess, because, when he doesn't like to pay a bill,
it's like a contractor.
The job. Right, now he didn't like that. So he wasn't going to pay them. And then they were like, well, what happens if I get pregnant? And he threw cash at them, threw cash money on their raped naked bodies and said, go get a fucking abortion.
Right.
So Donald Trump is okay with raping children, and he's okay with abortion. That's true.
Yep.
And again, there's no statute of limitations on this. And why is it coming out now, you might ask? Well, first of all, it already came out and you wanted to ignore it back then. And the reason it got thrown out is because the victims and their families were threatened. Does that sound familiar to anybody? And so here's what happened. This is the one thing I will say about Ron DeSantis that is positive. Ron DeSantis hates Donald Trump so much and is so mad at Donald Trump that he made it so that a judge could release all of this new information from the Epstein files that we couldn't get before. Thank you, Ron DeSantis. Thank you for being a petty bitch. Just this one time. Just this one time, I'm good with it, because it tells us even more horrific things about Donald Trump. And I don't care if it happened in the 70s or 80s. It happened.
Right.
It happened. It's true. He is a child rapist. And not only is he a child rapist, he raped children that looked just like his own daughters. Okay?
He made a point of, he mentioned that a bunch of times. And again, it would be a lot easier to dismiss some of these stories as, as apocryphal or fabricated or whatever, if he hadn't been on morning television shows in the middle of the fucking day when they asked him what he had in common with his daughter and he said sex. If he hadn't been talking about Tiffany before she was born and gestured to see if she has tits like her mom. On
it's disgusting.
Daytime
if he's not raping
TV.
them, he sexualizes them. It's disgusting.
Jesus.
He sexualizes his own daughters. And he's so vile and gross and disgusting. And when does it stop being funny to you guys to try to subvert democracy? When does it stop? Where is your Rubicon that you won't cross? Because if child rape is okay with you, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I don't know how you salvage
in the
that.
Chat, think about a woman in your life. I don't care who she is. Think about a woman in your life that you love, who is taken care of you, who has nurtured you, who loves you, who's fed you, who's protected you. Now picture her as a 10-year-old getting raped by Donald Trump. Or an adult being raped by Donald Trump, because you don't care that he rapes adult women. You don't care that he raped E. Jean Carroll, that he's an adjudicated rapist. You don't care that he's a convicted felon. You don't care that he committed crimes against the United States. You don't care about anything. But if you don't care about child rape, you need to get off the internet and get into therapy. I don't understand how you can look the other way when it comes to child rape. You cannot be that cravenly ambitious. Or can you? Or can you, J.D. Vance?
Well, again, J.D. Vance is running to be second in charge to America's Hitler, according to him.
And J.D. Vance is also okay with domestic violence. So that means he probably slaps his own wife around, and he's fine with violence against women and child rape. That's who eyeliner enthusiast J.D. Vance truly is
As an eyeliner enthusiast, I feel like he gives dudes like me a bad name. I'm just saying for the record.
He really
for the
does,
record.
because he's not doing it in the metal way.
That's
He's doing
true,
it
yeah.
in the I want to look like Clown Prince Trump way. And why? Why do you want to look like him? Why do you want to be like him? Why? He raped children. Do you have a rape children fantasy? Is that your milieu?
Well, I said this,
I
I said today, and I challenged anybody to push back on it. I was like, bring it. Let me hear anybody push back. But it is impossible for the Republican Party, the GOP, to nominate someone for president who didn't party with Jeffrey Epstein. They can't do it. It's impossible. They couldn't swap him out if he dropped out or dropped dead. They couldn't do it. They would, if they even tried, they would chew themselves to pieces, giving everybody 8%. There is no consensus in that party except on the dude that was Jeffrey Epstein's wingman. That's the one thing they can agree on, is that Jeffrey Epstein's wingman needs to be in the White House. The other thing is that we know that Bill Barr's dad gave Jeffrey Epstein his first job working at a girls' school that he was not fucking qualified to do. And then years later, Bill Barr's in charge when the guy dies in jail. And on top of that, Alex Acosta is the attorney for the Southern District of Florida, who gives Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal that allows him, he basically has a key to the jail. He can let himself out for work. He has a fucking key card to leave whenever he wants. And he continued to sexually assault girls, children, during that entire time.
Children.
And Donald Trump made Alex Acosta labor secretary because it was a turnkey, no-show job as far as the Republicans were concerned. He paid him off with a labor secretary job. Because I've said it before, they didn't give a fuck about labor.
No. And think back a couple of weeks when Trump was on Fox News. By the way, Trump hasn't been seen in public for the last 10 days because of this story. It's 100% because of this story. Where is he? He's hiding in the golf bunker. Truth
I will say
undeniable.
it's 80% Epstein drop and 20% Democrats are busy kicking Joe Biden. So he's just taking time off and letting folks on our side of the aisle do his work for him.
Yeah, well, when George Stephanopoulos interviewed Joe Biden, they also extended an invitation to Donald Trump to sit down, and he refused. Donald Trump is not going to sit down with any member of the mainstream media who's not up his ass. He is not, because he knows that someone from the MSM, and it should be me at this point because he's fucking scared of me and I'm not scared of him. Right. Somebody is going to ask him, what about these Epstein files? What about this? What about that? What about this trial, this trial, this trial? These felonies, those felonies, your tribunal coming in September. Why don't you drop out? You're doing these unhinged rallies where you're talking about Hannibal Lecter and sharks and batteries, and no one's calling for you to step down. Joe Biden has one off night and the fair weather Democrats come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
This is fucked. This is fucked up. And this is the media's fault because they love the rage cycle. They have PTSD from TFG and they don't know how to cover either of them properly. They don't know how to boost Biden when he's doing great, and they don't know how to hold Trump accountable when he's fucking up, which is literally his entire life.
Right.
And your ratings from 2016 should not matter in 2024, and your ratings shouldn't matter in 2024. The truth should matter, and the truth is Donald Trump wants to implement Project 2025. He's got the Heritage Foundation behind him, and he was given a blank slate from SCOTUS to do whatever the fuck he wants going forward. Joe Biden is not taking advantage of this immunity thing, by the way. He could be. He could be doing so much with this that he's not, because he's a normal human being. He is not going to turn himself into a dictator, and he's not going to overstep, and he's not going to go outside the normal traditional boundaries of what the presidential office is supposed to keep him in. You're supposed to be contained. You're not supposed to be an unchecked dictator. This is America. We're not a Christian nation. We are a free nation. We are allowed to choose how we worship, what we read, where we go, what we eat, where we live, and especially what we do with our bodies. And it is really time for everyone to take a giant breath and exhale and remember what this country was founded on and where we should be going instead of what is actually happening. I personally don't want to live in a dictatorship run by a rapist king. That's just me. That's
Right.
just me. Do you want that? Do you really want that? It's not fucking funny. This isn't, like your college dorm and choosing who should be your RA for the year. This isn't a game. This is our democracy where we live every single day. And just remember that the shit Trump is threatening against the Democrats is going to rain down on you also if you step out of line. It's your freedom that's being taken away. It's
Right.
all of the women in your life, whether they're willingly giving it up or not.
If I may, let me address the maggots in the crowd. We have a couple in the chat at any given time, or anybody who watches this later on in the privacy of their own home when it's not live because it's upsetting for them when I'm live. Let me address you folks, if I may, real quick. All of his praise for Putin and Orban specifically, or even Xi Jinping, all three of those countries, none of them have a Second Amendment. All three of them have the most draconian rules about gun ownership anywhere. So if you're talking about how a powerful leader can control his populace and the iron hand of Xi Jinping, or that Orban has no crime in his country, one of the reasons is because they have really, really, really strict laws about gun ownership. And if that's what you want, then fucking say so. Otherwise, if I may,
fuckface.
Hold on.
Oh. Okay, fuckface.
I just heard fuckface.
First,
that's all
take
I
a
heard.
big step back and literally fuck your own face!
All right, so that's a Les Grossman clip that just while you were talking,
damn it,
I couldn't.
Tropic Thunder. I love
Yeah.
Tropic Thunder so much. It's the most un-PC movie ever besides Blazing Saddles. I love it. Love it, love it. I don't think you can watch it anymore,
okay.
though.
For the record, stop
Can
for
we,
a second.
Can we still
I'm
watch
gonna call
it?
bullshit.
Can we still watch Tropic Thunder?
Yes, Tropic Thunder.
Okay.
And Blazing Saddles are both very politically correct.
No,
All the villains
me.
talk shit. All the people who do awful things are awful. They all get called on it. They succeed in the end of Tropic Thunder because it's a statement about Hollywood being fucked. But
right.
even the R
people who
word
don't
conversation
get it,
that the
don't
two
get
of them have is about those two assholes and how like celebrities speak when they're not being listened to. They are mocking people. They're not arguing that point.
I get it, and you get it, and simple Jack. So anyway, back to the topic at hand. The people in the chat who identify as MAGA, I'd like to know why you're okay with child rape, because it's real. It's real. It's undeniable. There's no statute of limitations. He did what he did, and we know that he did it. And if you could speak to that without using anyone else's name as a way to move the goalposts, that would be fantastic, because this is not the time for false equivalence. This is the time for accountability.
Yeah.
And it's really time. He's gone unchecked for so long. Now the legal system is finally caught up, and it's really time the rest of you did. He lied to you all of this time. He has been grifting you all of this time. You are the shell under the cards, because he just keeps moving. You are involved in a very long game of 3-card Monte.
Yeah.
That's all that's happening here. And you're not going to get anything that you think that you're going to get. You're not. In fact, you're going to get less. You're going to get less, because when they implement Project 2025, it's going to impact you too.
Of course. You poor motherfucker. That's who they're coming for. You won't have the ability to move around unless you are in there. They're gonna pass out KMA cards to everybody who's in power or who's in the kind of upper echelon of the 1%. That's a kiss my ass card where they will not be liable for anything legally. I'm just saying if you get pulled over, there's gonna be people holding up a KMA card and going, Trump gave me this. Go fuck yourself, officer. That's how they're gonna live.
They are tweeting about dismantling the Department of Education. I saw several tweets about that today from fucking
because he loves the poorly
Shia,
educated.
libs of TikTok, she blocked me as libs of TikTok, but her other account, whatever it is, Shia, right chick, who claims to be a Jewish educator. Fuck you, Shia. Fuck you, and fuck the superintendent of Oklahoma public schools who put the Bible in fucking public schools. You want to be in a cult? Get it the fuck away from public education and taxpayer, anything funded by taxpayers. Take your cult to a cave on an island in the middle of the Pacific where you can't hurt Americans. Do that, okay? If you want no education and subjugate your women and children, do it very far away from the United States of America.
Yeah,
Bye.
One of the things that we're constantly confronted, especially with the new Epstein stuff coming out, with this kind of the lie, the substructure of the lie that Trump's entire bullshit empire was built on, and not the least of which is this idea that even when maggots will cop to the fact that he did not deserve the loans that he got, they give him credit for being able to trick the banks into giving it to him. If they could trick a bank into giving them money they don't deserve, they feel like, well, that's a fucking win. That's how smart he is. It's the same thing, same kind of smarts that keep you from having to pay the taxes you owe, right? That they think it's in the same zone.
That's not smart.
But here's the thing. Here's the deal, folks. The loans he got from Deutsche Bank were not him tricking Deutsche Bank into giving him fucking money. Russian oligarchs, including Vladimir Putin, gave money to Deutsche Bank and said, loan it to these people. I don't give a fuck if I ever get it back. And you guys can keep the interest. This is about ownership. We are making down payments on control of the American electorate and in other countries. And we're not the only country they did it to. And the reason why Deutsche Bank has been hit with money laundering charges on such a grand scale is because it was so fucking egregious. They weren't loaning out the money of people who have accounts at Deutsche Bank at all. They were literally just being told, hand this money to this person. You can keep the interest rate as a fee just for facilitating this. We're just keeping this guy afloat so we can use him later because he's great for attacking America. And that's how Donald Trump became president. It's how he even got on the fucking Apprentice. If they hadn't helped him out in the 90s and bailed him out that way through this scheme, he wouldn't have been the fucking host of the Apprentice. It would have been, I mean, it was a bigger joke when it became the Celebrity Apprentice. It would have all been a joke.
Well, I mean, it should have been treated like a joke from the beginning. For people who don't know, Vladimir Putin has owned Donald Trump since 1987. And Vladimir Putin has used Donald Trump as a subhuman bridge to compromise the GOP. First, he got a foothold with the Russian mob in New York. And then once he had a presence in America, then he spread it to politics because he's an insane, crazy dictator. We don't want that here. Do we have any answers from the MAGAs in the chat regarding child rape? Did we get answers? Because I don't look at the chat while you and I are talking, but you do.
Nope.
And so we asked them that question, but did anybody respond? Because there's no answer. You can't justify child rape. Instead, what you do is move the goalposts or you just don't answer. And ignoring the problems that Donald Trump is responsible for and sticking your head in the ground like an ostrich doesn't make them go away. It just means that you decide you don't like it. So you're not going to look at it and you're not going to consume it. But it doesn't make it any less true. And nothing you tweet about Joe Biden is going to make Donald Trump any less of a child rapist, any less of a convicted felon, any less of guilty of raping E. Jean Carroll, no less guilty of election interference, no less guilty of what he did on January 6th, no less guilty of stealing those documents.
Thank you, Robert.
Nothing is coming to save Donald Trump. There is no deus ex machina, that is spelled M-A-G-A-I-N-A, if you're familiar with the deus ex machina that comes from Greek tragedies. At the end of a Greek play, when they were like, oh, what will we do? Here comes Zeus to save them. No one is coming to save you guys. No one is coming to save Donald Trump either. Nobody. You know who's here to help us, though? Joe Biden and the true Democrats who are backing them, who want you to continue to enjoying the freedoms you were enjoying before Donald Trump came around and flung his diaper all over our political norms. And I will ask you once again, go to the White House website and look at the official record, or you could just look at the fact that we have the greatest economy in the world to the point where we are lifting the rest of the world's economies along with ours. And all of your bullshit complaint talking points that are coming from, I don't know, the Babylon Bee, is that your source now? So I don't know where you get your information from, but if you're only getting it from Trump or Newsbusters or Newsmax or Donald Trump's remaining handful of mouthpieces who will still go on TV, you know, Caroline Levitt and Margot Martin and whoever else. Like, if that's your source, don't be shocked when you watch all of this shit rain down on Trump and the rest of the people who supported him, because it will happen once we have our trifecta of democracy, when we take back the House and we have the White House still. We're going to hold the White House, we're going to hold the Senate, we're going to increase our House majority, and then we're going to get so much shit done. It's going to be incredible. We're going to impeach those justices. We're going to overturn things that have happened. We're going to get the real America back. And the real America is the one you were enjoying before Trump.
Right.
Remember the Obama administration?
No, the one they're enjoying now.
Were you on? I just want to know, like, the people who were here during the Obama administration, social media existed, but it wasn't like this. We didn't live at threat level midnight every day because we felt confident in the job he was doing. And so did Republicans, by the way, except for he wore a tan suit and he's a black man who likes mustard. Like, the racists had a problem with it. But for those 8 years, we were not super laser focused on his every move. And we were not micromanaging the president's every single move because we didn't live like that. And that's what Donald Trump did also. He sowed chaos, created distrust in the media. Everything is Russian propaganda 101. And so what we need to do is be louder than MAGA, which is what we're always supposed to do. But when we get a second Biden-Harris term, which we will, it would be great if everybody would then exhale, and we should start living the way we should have been started back in January 2021. I don't know why people don't want to live in a calm, effective, Democratic-run country, because that's what we had with Obama, and then we didn't have it, and then we have it back with Biden, and you don't want that. What'd you do? Did you get addicted to the rage? I like
let me show you. This is a great example.
Myself.
Let me show you a great example of just the insane hoops that the right is having to jump through to deal with the successes of Joe Biden. Check this out. This is a headline from I think from Fox Business. Former Home Depot CEO clears the smoke from Biden's deceptively correct jobs report.
Sorry you don't like it that Joe Biden is awesome, but not sorry.
Yeah, did they really add those amount of jobs? Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
is the economy cooling at a normal rate for a soft landing? Yeah. What's the bad part of that? It ain't us. That's what it is. That's his complaint. It ain't us. That we didn't do it. Trump made it worse, by the way, and made it more difficult to do.
Do you know that we lost nearly 3 million jobs under Donald Trump, but we gained 15.7 million jobs with Biden?
Yeah.
We lost.
That's a hell of a bounce back.
We lost. We lost a lot of things under Trump, and Joe Biden got it all back for us. I don't understand why you don't enjoy having the best economy in the world. Somebody I saw today before I started getting ready to come on and speak with you was tweeting about the price of orange juice has gone up a few pennies. Okay. Donald Trump raped children. Is that more important or less important than orange juice? Donald Trump raped children. Is that more or less important than one standalone debate performance in 3.5 years? Donald Trump raped children. What you got? Because I don't know. I don't know if you're okay with that. I don't know what to say after that.
Right.
Like, most successful president since the 60s, child rapist.
Well, okay, so there are usually two strategies, and we've seen both of them with Trump on the regular, on how to deal with a bad piece of news about a candidate. This happens everywhere, but Trump has been particularly like ham-handed, a lot of crayons and hammers in dealing with it, not very subtle. One of them is to get out ahead of the story and attack your opponent with the exact same words that you know you are going to be attacked about. So the child sniffing and all that kind of shit about Biden, throw that out there, or say, or even the Donald Trump is going to save us from a cabal, and Hillary Clinton drinks adrenochrome and Comet Ping Pong, and all that shit was a Mike Flynn attack point that they constructed essentially to insulate Donald Trump against what they knew would be coming out if at any point the Jeffrey Epstein was starting. And again, because of Me Too and because of the people's pushback against the sweetheart deal that Jeffrey Epstein had gotten, the non-prosecution agreement, which, by the way, he was going to use in his defense, and he would not go to jail. Let me tell you something. Alex Acosta gave him a non-prosecution agreement, very much like what Bill Cosby got. That's why Bill Cosby got let out of jail, because they made it. When he agreed to cop to what he had done in a civil case and pay one of his victims, the DA gave him a deal that said, we won't prosecute you for it if you come clean about it. And to go back on that would be a violation of your Fifth Amendment rights. You unlawfully had someone violate their own Fifth Amendment rights. Jeffrey Epstein was gonna fucking walk because of that Alex Acosta deal if he hadn't died in prison magically. And he knew it. That's what he was going to run.
I'm sure
on.
Bill Barr had nothing to do with that.
Nothing whatsoever. Yeah, horrible. But that said, so you get out ahead. They knew this was coming out because of Me Too and because people were starting to push back against this. And he made Alex Acosta his fucking campaign dude. And he was going to do it because it looked like he'd already made a deal with Alex Acosta a long time ago, because Acosta was apparently aware. He knew 2 years before they even brought it to trial what Trump had been up to with Jeffrey Epstein and all that shit. So they knew, and they hid it, and they kept it to themselves. And that's why fuck TMZ and fuck Page 6 too.
They threatened Donald Trump's raped victims and their families. Yeah. And I think, 2016 fear and 2024 are very, very different. Yeah. And so I don't think people are as afraid of retribution from Donald Trump anymore. I think that they've obviously learned what a fucking coward he is, and that he's all talk and no action. And if he wants to take action, he makes other people do it for him, because he's a giant coward baby. And he doesn't do anything except run his fucking puckered orange anus mouth. So if he could hire a henchman to do his dirty work, oh, wait a minute. He does. His name is Stephen Chung, and he looks exactly like Oddjob from Goldfinger. That's not a coincidence. That's not a coincidence, because Donald Trump wants to be like Goldfinger.
Right, or Goldmember.
Goldmember. Hey, Goldmember. Anyway.
The other way you do it, the other way you get ahead of a story or you deal with it, besides throwing it out there and accusing the other side of doing that thing, is that you do a flat out denial. It's all fake news, fake everything, fake. It's everything you hear is fake.
It over and over.
Yeah, attack the news overall as it's all bullshit. So anything you hear from them, don't trust it at all. Unless it's good numbers for me, in which case that's when it's true. Right. But everywhere else, if anything they say is wrong, and you get the reason you say that stuff is because eventually they're going to come around to reporting on what you've done, and it is so fucking awful, you can't come back from it. There is no spin. There is no way to make his time with Epstein and their partnership over the years look anything but fucking horrifying and disgusting. So what you have to do is just erase it by making it fraud or fake or all that kind of stuff. Because if you could have a defense for it, you would. And the new information about where they unmasked some of the John Does. There are 200 John Does in the Epstein files. Bill Clinton is number 32, and Bill Clinton, according to the judge, did not interfere with, nor did they take any action on the release of his name as John Doe 32. They did nothing. They didn't try to stop it. They didn't file. They could have They could have filed all kinds of injunctions. They could have dragged it out forever. He didn't do a single thing. But Donald Trump did.
Oh yeah.
And the judge that was, I think, a Trump-appointed judge basically said, no comment, effectively, on whether or not Trump, did anything, try to do any legal maneuvers at all. But it doesn't matter because the law, like you said before, that DeSantis signed into law is, it doesn't matter. You can bitch all you want to, but eventually it's going to come out.
Yeah. And the problem is that when you are so dug in this deeply with your cult mentality, now what you're doing is trying to figure out how to continue to support this guy because you can't admit you were wrong with the child rape thing is really bad. So again, to the MAGAs in the chat, how are you doing that? I want to know how you're doing that. I truly do. I want to know how you're doing it, and I want to know why. Mm-hmm. Why is it more important for you to stay in your cult than protect American democracy? These are basic questions. And, again, if it came out that Bill Clinton did what Donald Trump did, you better believe I'd be out there screaming about it. So I don't want you to say that Democrats don't hold our own accountable, because we do. And I want to see the same thing from Republicans. And I don't care what the blackmail Putin has on you is anymore. I don't care, Lindsey Graham. I don't care, Marco Rubio, short of murder or harming an underage child like Donald Trump did.
You would if he had on you what he has on them. Again, the hard part is like,
what it is. What could it be? What could it be that's worse than child rape? Tell me what's worse.
The
Because
equivalent.
If it's worse than what Trump did,
it isn't worse. I'll tell you what. It isn't worse what he. No, it isn't worse than what he did. It doesn't have to be. It just has to wreck them, no matter what it is. That's the baseline. They will let him get away with all this if it means they get away with this. That little bit would be enough.
What is this? I want to know what this is.
It used to be. Remember, the statement used to be "live boy" or "dead girl." If you were found in bed with a live, that was the end of your career. Now it's "dead boy."
Dead boy too. Dead boy, not man. If it's that, you should all know that, and so should Jack Smith. And if I was honestly, at this point, if you have a brain left in your head and you're still in the Republican Party and you know shit about Donald Trump that can save you, go to Jack Smith right now. Go to Jack Smith right now. See if you can get some kind of Mark Meadows deal where you can talk shit and still be free. Why don't you try that? Because again, Donald Trump is going to take y'all down with him. He's not a take one for the team guy. So Look at where's Steve Bannon right now? Where's Peter Navarro right now? Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani, every single person connected to Donald Trump getting popped. So they're either going to prison, coming back from prison, waiting to find out if they're going to prison. You think Donald Trump is innocent? You think he's the only innocent one in this tremendously humongous bunch of people who are going to prison or fake electors and all of this? You think this is a conspiracy that the Democrats created to make Donald Trump look bad? Donald Trump has been making himself look bad by himself for 78 years. He doesn't need our help. He's been doing it all on his own. Why would you stay loyal to a child rapist? What do you have to gain from staying loyal to a child rapist, you personally, is the question I want all Republicans asked. And they're not going to. They're not going to be asked about that. The mainstream media is not asking them why they support a child rapist in Project 2025, although they're starting to ask about Project 2025. And the Republicans are like, we don't know anything about that. That's not real. Donald Trump even truthed on Truth Social. I don't know anything about this Project 2025. There is a photo of him shaking hands with Kevin Roberts, who's at the head of the Heritage Foundation, who's hugely driving Project 2025.
They picked his judges. I got to tell you, they picked all of his judges, all of them, his Supreme Court justices, his federal judges, everybody he put in there. They even
Project 2025.
Yeah, they even handed him Bill Barr, and he didn't know why. Look, every time Donald Trump says they come highly recommended, everybody says they're highly respected. What he means is the people that he's listening to who are giving him his marching orders say this person is your person. Put that in and shut the fuck up. And he gives him an out.
He's such a fucking puppet. God, Hillary was right about everything. I will die.
Yeah.
Again, if you have a well thought out, researched response as to why this is something you support, I'm happy to listen, just because nobody since 2015 has been able to justify their support for Donald Trump in a way that makes my brain go, oh, all right. Saying you're in a cult is that's not an excuse. That's
right.
I mean, we already know that. The real reasons, because at this point, you know what he is, and you're just actively denying it, and I want to know why, because to me, our democracy is more important than your feelings. Here's the thing. Fuck them. Fuck your feelings, kids. Fuck your feelings, snowflakes. I don't care. I don't care. We have now reached the Rubicon. That is child rape. Which side of that Rubicon do you stand on? Because I'm going to judge you based on that from this point forward.
Well, and again,
that's where we are.
There is no dodging it. That's the other thing, too, is that if you're talking about let's say you have some sort of political scandal. that anybody has over time, whether it's Watergate or Iran-Contra or a tan suit. I don't give a shit. You have something where you're on tape and people have a problem with whatever the fuck it is. And the election is coming. And there is no way out of it. Again, you have two options, which they've tried to do both. Work the ref and call the ref a liar, or pretend everybody does it and try to make it a wash. When it comes to the Epstein stuff, it is fascinating to me that there are three men, all deference to Marianne Williamson, and credit to her for never being on Epstein's plane. By the way, I was working for her in the time period that if she was ever going to be on it, that would have been the time, right, where he would have sucked up to her because she was on Oprah's book list and all that, and she never did.
I didn't know
not
you
that she
worked
would.
for
I don't
her.
know why,
That's
but
crazy.
I'm just saying she shouldn't be included in this. But of the three men that are running, only Joe Biden is not on the Epstein flight logs. Both RFK Jr. and Trump, both of them, both of these motherfuckers. And
if you
there
vote
is
for
zero
Kennedy,
excuse.
you're going to get Trump. So
Yeah.
I mean,
You're going to
his
tell me that
entire
he's
family
been sent by
disowned
God
him.
to stop child sex trafficking, and he's the
No.
man to do it. Why? Because you set a thief to catch a thief? That's the best argument I could
No.
possibly hear from you.
Hey, P.S. Nobody was sent by God. Just so you know, nobody was. Nobody was chosen by God or sent
Or
by God
everybody
to do
was.
anything.
I certainly was.
Well, maybe you, Hal. Maybe just you and Joe Biden and Stephen Colbert. I will allow that, and Jimmy Carter. I'll allow that.
Right.
But the rest of you,
Well, at the very least, you should
Trump
act
or
like
Chris.
it. If nobody was sent by God, you should absolutely act like you were and be an emissary for all the goodness you could possibly manage on Earth. That's my
This
goal.
is all I'm saying. Hey, speaking of which, fuck the MSM. I'm going to be back at work at hillreporter.com starting
There you
today.
go. Yes, I wanted to get to that too. And
You want to see some
applause
truth?
in the chat
you
room.
want some truth? Fucking right here. I unfortunately was laid off in February of 2023 because the website went through restructuring. They were actually gone for a little bit because they had no money. Now they're back. Not only is Hill Reporter back, we're going to be powered and syndicated by the MSN network. So it's going to be syndicated, and my writing is going to reach lots and lots more people, which is wonderful because as many people as I reach between Twitter and Substack, I'm going to be able to reach more. And all I'm going to be doing is writing truthful shit about Biden and Harris. And if you don't like it, sorry. When we have the awesome truth on our side and we have all of the great things to brag about, that's what I'm going to write about, along with the fact that Trump raped children. And I'm going to keep pushing that because Trump raped children. So what you can expect when you check out Hill Reporter and my pieces there, because I'll be writing reported opinion, which I'm allowed to do. That's why they hired me originally. You will see positive articles, truthful, positive. I'm not going to have to make up anything positive about the vice president and the president and everything that we're accomplishing. And I'm also going to be telling the truth about Republicans and Project 2025 and every single person who's remaining loyal to Donald Trump. And as soon as we're off this discussion, I'm going to call J.D. Vance's office again because I emailed them after speaking with them to ask why he was supporting a child rapist. And crazy, I just haven't gotten an answer. But
That's
now
weird.
that I have an official job writing for a political website, now I have even more of a reason to get an answer. And that's the question I want Republicans asking. And if the mainstream media is not going to do it, Kristen Welker's not going to do it, and George Stephanopoulos isn't going to do it, and Caitlin Collins isn't going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to email Jamie Harrison at the DNC and see if I can get an interview with Joe Biden, because it's about time somebody who recognizes Joe Biden's abilities to interview Joe Biden. I don't have any issues with his mental capacities. I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about Joe Biden. I'm concerned about Donald Trump and Project 2025. And so that's what I want pushed. And if my shit finally gets out there into the mainstream, maybe other people will pick up on it. Just like maybe they'll pick up on this book. I don't know. I'm busting my fucking ass to get the truth out there, and maybe finally it'll happen. I don't know. Get me on Morning Joe. Get me on MSNBC. Get me on CNN. I'll fucking make you cry, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. Maybe it's time you woke the fuck up and started fact checking again. God damn it. We never had to worry about this before Trump. We could actually trust the media before that. We had Peter Jennings. And we had Diane Sawyer, and we went to them every night. We're like, yep, I believe you because you're just telling us what happened without imparting your personal agenda on it. That'd be great. Well, we're not going to get that back, but what we are going to get back, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I have breath in my body and my hands still work, you're going to get the truth. You're going to get the truth about both Democrats and MAGA from this girl. And you can trust that because I don't lie. I can't stand lying. I can't. I don't care. I would rather hear the ugliest truth than the most beautiful lie, because eventually the truth comes out.
Well, especially when it comes to actually
out,
defining
people get mad.
Life on Earth, physical reality, the circumstance we all find ourselves in. Thank you, Edward. Hey,
I have a Venmo too, Edward.
We put it in the chat.
You could just buy my
Your
book.
we posted your Venmo in the chat just a little bit ago too.
Thank you. If you buy my book, I'd really appreciate it at towerdublinrocks.com. And if you could also take a moment to rate it 5 stars, because I'm getting a lot of fake MAGA people who are coming from Okay, so there's a migration from Twitter to Substack, and then they're hounding me
Bots.
on Twitter and Substack because I'm writing the truth, and there are people who are triggered by the truth that I write. So then they go over to The Sound of Settling on my page, and they give it bad reviews because they think it's about Democrats or something. It's a rock and roll love story. It's fanfic. It's about Dave Grohl. He had a crush on me back in the day. So I wrote a book about what if I could have hooked up with Dave Grohl, but I changed all of the everything. That's all it is. It's fun. Go read it. And by the way, I'll say this and then we can get back to politics. I have a follow-up that is ready to go. Is it a sequel? Is it a prequel? I'm not telling. But what I am telling is I sent it to a friend of mine, a guy who helped me edit this, who loves this book and knows this book very well. He says my sequel is better than this. So we really need to get me a proper... I know. I was like, what? Because that's what you're supposed to do if you have a
What do you
sequel
know?
or a follow-up or
Sometimes you can get better the more you do something. When did that start?
So I have the best words. And please follow Hill Reporter on Twitter. It's not The Hill. I'm not a reporter for The Hill. I can't get them to change the name of the website. I tried.
I know words. I have the best
so it's
words.
hillreporter.com, at Tara Dublin Rocks. She's all about the truth. I don't know. I promise you, you will only get truthful stuff from me. So, and we sell plenty more time today now to get more truth out. So what else do we have any answers from the MAGA people in the chat about the child rape yet? Or should we move on?
Nope. No, we're not going to.
Nope.
We are not going to. There is no, and that's what I was meaning about this particular story in the press, is that as we get closer to this election, there is no situation where this gets better for Donald Trump. If you don't believe me, look at Alan Dershowitz's skeevy, grotesque denials that get lamer and weirder every time he tries to cover his own ass. Like that,
Captain Underpants. I call him Captain Underpants.
It is just it's gonna get worse. And again, that's why increasingly when you're looking at Russians and they're picking somebody and they want somebody they're going to promote, even if they think he's just going to be a chaos agent and lose. In the case of Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton, they were really not really betting on him actually winning, but that he could just basically come in and fuck up the system and go, what a clown show the fucking American democracy is. They got a woman president out of it, but she had to run against this scumbag. There's no downside for them to running a Donald Trump, right, in that particular situation. So they don't care if he wins or not.
So,
but if you're going to make him a viable candidate at all, you got to head off these kind of, his biggest liability, which is his, 25-year plus partnership with Jeffrey Epstein. And so the way you do that,
they didn't really think this through. They
did because they put Mike Flynn in charge of basically, working with others to concoct this QAnon bullshit, fabricate the Pizzagate shit to, again, cast this wide net that Donald Trump is the savior of children. And I always go back to this weird moment at the end of Trump's presidency, his first term and his only term. And
his lone term.
Yeah, his lone term. And when they were showing what were allegedly during Biden's inaugural address, that children were being let out of the caves, like Donald Trump freed these children that were hidden under the White House that had been there. And I obviously asked the question, why the fuck didn't he free them when he showed up? And why were there no children to be freed when he showed up, but there were when he was leaving? So the only president that I can find any record of, even in QAnon lore, of there being children trapped under the White House the entire time and being released by a president were the ones that were allegedly trapped and milked for their adrenochrome during Trump's presidency, that I guess he moved them to Mar-a-Lago afterwards or some shit like that.
Really?
I don't know if you guys saw that. That was the
Really?
day they also supposedly were building gallows to kill Hillary's clone.
Okay. Can we just, first of all, we have no cloning technology. We don't. Because if we did, I would have a Dave Grohl clone here as my boyfriend. That's just fact.
Sure.
So we have no cloning. We have no cloning.
I
Joe
would
Biden
get so
is
much
not
more
wearing
done in a
Donald Trump
day.
mask. Donald Trump is not wearing a Joe Biden mask.
Right.
Hillary did not have a clone. Nobody was milking anything from children because you can't milk children.
Yeah.
You can rape them, but you can't milk them.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What happened to you people that you're so broken inside that you will accept this insanity without challenging it, but you will twist yourself into conspiracy and like you'll believe any lie about Joe Biden, but you'll twist yourself into a conspiracy pretzel to avoid a basic truth about Donald Trump. Like, he probably never graduated from Wharton. There's one. There's
Right.
one. Where are his long form, his transcripts?
Why isn't
from
his
college?
diploma on the
Nobody
wall?
remembers him. Nobody remembers him. Nobody remembers going to school with Donald Trump. Now, I think if you went to school with Donald Trump, you would remember. You'd remember him. You'd
Yeah.
remember him being there. Nobody at Wharton remembers him. It's the tiny lies and the big lies. It's all of the lies. It's cumulative. I don't know why you bought into them. But you have every single day, you have a new opportunity to look at the world and go, this doesn't seem right. I'm not okay with this.
I mean, it goes to
And so-
a big part of of elite networking back in the day that surrounds the golf world, which was pre-social media and rando media, the ability to everybody to film every lunch they've ever eaten, which extrapolates out to everything else. That before that shit existed, it was easy to run a diploma mill for rich people out of schools, and you would give their kids
Sure.
diplomas in exchange for an annuity or an endowment or.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that I don't believe he ever did anything at Wharton. He certainly didn't graduate as valedictorian.
But certainly didn't
because
learn
that would
anything,
be
whether he
documented.
was there or not.
But he claimed he graduated like valedictorian or something, which means he would have made a speech at their graduation, and he
Right.
didn't because everyone would have remembered that, and no one does because it
Yeah, they
didn't
would have-
fucking happen.
Yeah, it would have
So,
been written about for years about how funny and
Of
stupid
course
it
it
was.
would. There'd be video or at least a photo of him at the podium, like, oh, yeah, before the sharks and the batteries and the Hannibal Lecter and the sundowning and the treason and the raping. That would have all predated that. And then there's all of this stuff around the military. Yes, he called our military losers and suckers. It has been confirmed over and over and over. You don't want to believe that story, that's fine. He also got his father to buy him 5 Vietnam deferments because he's a fucking coward who didn't want to go to war. And that's why he calls our military losers and suckers. He's jealous. He is jealous of how much people admire our military.
Yeah.
He is jealous that people admire their sacrifice. He has said, what did they get out of it? Why did they serve? I don't like people who got captured, John McCain's daughter, who blocked me on Twitter. He has no respect for our military when we should have nothing but respect for our military. Like, there are things that are true and documented that they deny. And so, again, that's why I ask, where's your Rubicon? Because, again, you want to deny all of these things, whatever. But then there are things that you just can't deny, but you choose to. And it's a question of why. Why do you want to be willfully obtuse instead of have a country that's free for you? Like, why? And again,
Well,
you don't like abortion,
again,
don't get
part
one.
of it-
You don't like
part of
gay
it
people, don't
is-
hang out with them.
Yeah, part of it is this, this fear of the other that they have successfully ginned up in other people. About their xenophobia. They just you pick a phobia or a fear point and you just drive it home. And by the way, you don't just fabricate it out of nothing because it won't be reinforced enough. What you do, if you're, let's say, immigrants, specifically with Republicans, if there's a single animating factor in the Republican politics right now, it's the fear of people coming across the southern border who are dangerous and deadly and monsters and do shit, and that's
Yes,
everybody.
all the people
so
of color.
to keep that going, to keep, if you're Russia or if you're even the Republican Party, if you want to keep that going, you can play up this fear in your in your followers and go, it's it's going to happen. It's just about around the corner. Look at 9/11 or something, and you can sit on that, but it has to be reinforced. So you actively have to either recruit or position people who will carry out that self-fulfilling prophecy. You have to make it happen. You have to participate in the delivery system. When Donald Trump says people from insane asylums or jails or prisons or whatever, if there are any of those folks, which there are, a minutia of people like that cross the border and don't get caught, if they do cross, it's because they've been delivered there by people trying to help their cause, that they are actively participating. There was right-wing groups during the whole caravans bullshit during Trump. They were putting ads in South American papers that you can walk to the United States, join the caravan and come to America. They're allowing you in and all this stuff. When, while he was like, they're headed this way, like we kept hearing this. Well, the very people that were decrying it were supplying it. And the same thing is true now, that they are, they're paying cartels to send people across the border to conduct business over there and going, hey, if you kill somebody while you're over there, you'll get an extra tattoo or a boost or some extra money. And then that in and of itself is enough to drive the whole thing. It's just that's just how it works. They've been weaponizing immigration for a long time, but you have to back it up. You can't just give somebody a fabricated belief system and sit on it, because they'll eventually go, wait, this is bullshit. And that's what's happened with a bunch of stuff. It's what happened with gay marriage. It's why they lost the fight on gay marriage. Yeah. It didn't ruin straight marriage. It was always a lie.
But it's just so hypocritical. Like they talk about being loving Christians, but they go out there and they live in the most hateful ways. Like, if you're a human being, it's your responsibility to be an ally to the communities you weren't born into. That's what humans are supposed to do. We're supposed to coexist and let each other live and be peaceful and tolerant, be tolerant of each other's differences. That's why this country was founded. Nobody lives like that. And how many wars have been fought over this, and how many people have died over this? And it's just, if you're going to preach it, you have to live it. And if you preach it and you don't live it, then you're a fucking hypocrite. So don't quote me the Bible and then talk about brown people taking your jobs. Because, that it's just hypocrisy.
Especially when you have a million unfilled job openings.
Do you want to go out and pick fruit all summer? Do you want to do that? Or would you rather have your cush job sitting on your
ass? Or work at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster?
Do you want to do that?
Again,
do you want to do that?
The Trump,
you want to be an undocumented worker at Mar-a-Lago?
The Trump organization places ads in a Florida paper looking to hire people, because there's I think a part of Florida law is that you have to offer the jobs to locals before you could bring in foreign workers. That's part of the thing. So they buy like super small legalese text classified thing at the bottom of a paper nobody reads on for 2 days, right? One of these like the leaflet things with coupons in it and shit.
The thing that you grab from the supermarket.
Yeah, totally. They buy that for a couple of days, which satisfies it, and then they apply for the visas for foreign workers, or they just, as they have done in the past, hire people who are undocumented to fill the spots there. And again, would you want to work at fucking
pay them under the table
Mar-a-Lago surrounded by those assholes?
No, you don't. No, you don't. And or if you end up working at Mar-a-Lago, you're going to end up testifying against Donald Trump at some point. That's usually how that makes sense. So again, I'll just keep asking questions. And when people don't give me an answer, then I know I've got them dead to rights, because I can ask questions in different ways. Remember right before I joined you, you were talking about Stephanopoulos and Joe and Mika trying to get the answer they want to get from Joe Biden by asking him the same question, just different ways. I'm doing that too. I'll ask, why are you okay with Trump doing this? You're not going to answer that? Okay, then why are you okay with Trump doing this? Oh, you're not going to answer that either? So that's where my line of questioning, why are you okay with this? Why do you do this? Why? If you can explain why, I might not agree with you, but at least it'll help me understand you from a sociological standpoint. So if you're okay with child rape, I just want to know why. I want to know why, because then I'll stop asking you. If you give me an answer, I'll stop asking you and I'll move on to the next person. Why are you okay with child rape? So, it's going back to basic human fundamentals of how people are supposed to treat each other at a basic level, and this fear mongering and all of this stuff to rile you guys up that totally worked. When have any of those things ever happened? Like, can you, anybody in the MAGA people in the chat, can you tell me about a time a Democrat showed up at your front door and demanded to take your gun away from you? Because we don't do that. We're not coming to take your guns from you. We just don't want you to kill other people with them.
Yeah.
We'd like you
if
to
you
be,
can't hit what you're shooting
get a
at in
license.
under 10 shots, you're not firing in self-defense. Or you might kill one of your family members.
Could you just not kill don't kill anything with a heartbeat on two legs. Is that too much to ask?
It is. It's a lot.
I feel like it's not. I feel like it's. I guess it's because I've never wanted to kill anybody with a gun.
Right.
I've never wanted a gun. I've never felt like I needed a gun. Get an alarm
I've been a member of the NMLRA since I was.
What does that say?
8. The National Muzzleloading Rifle Association. I've been a lifetime member since I was 8 years old. This is a letter that Donald Trump wrote to Vladimir Putin in 2007. Dear President Putin, congratulations on being named Time Magazine's Man of the Year. You definitely deserve it. As you probably have heard, I am a big fan of yours. Take care of yourself with best wishes, Donald J. Trump.
Tua, yeah.
Yeah, Tua.
That's right. In your mouth. Put it all in your mouth. Get it all the way back in the back of your throat when you swallow.
2007, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to mark the 20-year anniversary of being owned by Putin, and that's how it happened. That's 20 years. That was a 20-year relationship. That was their 20-year anniversary. So, burrowing yourself further up into someone's alimentary canal is a traditional 20th anniversary gift, I think. So,
I think so. This is another letter he wrote to him in 2013. This one's a little, he is a little more going on. I hope you've heard by now the exciting news that we are bringing the Miss Universe 2013 pageant to Russia for the first time in its 62-year history of the pageant. We will partner with Crocus Group and Aris Agalarov. Remember that shit? Remember that dude? Aris Agalarov, to stage the event on November 9th at Crocus City Hall. The Miss Universe pageant is watched by over 1 billion people worldwide. It is one of the most watched TV shows anywhere in the world. I know that our Moscow pageant will be our biggest and best Miss Universe ever. It was not by any measure. And we're already overwhelmed with a very positive and extensive response from both international and Russian media. We turned down many other competing countries in favor of Russia. I want to take this opportunity to personally invite you to be my guest of honor in Moscow on November 9th. I know you will have a great time. With best wishes, sincerely, Donald Trump. And he wrote down here in the corner in Sharpie, the world's most beautiful women, !
Wow.
I can't tell if he's talking about Russia or the women he's bringing.
Donald Trump big pimpin' for Daddy Vladdy. Hey, Daddy Vladdy, I'll hook you up with one of these hotties.
What happened to that?
On
that modeling dude that he used to hang out with, that was a friend of. One? Yeah,
the French guy. Isn't he dead too? Didn't he kill himself also over this? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Epstein adjacent. If you're connected to Jeffrey Epstein, even maybe you only went one time to Epstein Island. One is enough, Prince Andrew, isn't it? So like you're connected in any way to Jeffrey Epstein, this should end your career. Yeah. The fact that Donald Trump is still out and walking around free is amazing, but it's also, he is hiding. Remember when they used to ask, where's Joe? Where's Joe? Where's Sleepy Joe?
Yeah.
Sleepy Joe's in the bunker. Donald Trump is hiding in his golf bunker because he doesn't want to ask and have to answer any questions about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff or Project 2025. Remember,
and
still
I
breathing.
It's not going to go away. This is not going to. This is not one of those stories that fades. This is one of those stories that the news does not want to talk about because it's uncomfortable. So it takes them a while to get up on their feet about this, right? Look at Weinstein. Look at Cosby. Look at all this stuff. It took years for them to start getting into it. And once it it became the permanent narrative forever. There's nobody walking back Weinstein and Cosby. And there's no one that's going to be walking back Trump with this stuff coming out increasingly.
I hope you're right about that because, he still has people. He has women supporting him. He has Caroline and Margot out there every day tweeting for him. And every day when I see their tweets, I respond with, you work for a man who raped children. and I put the thing, and they never respond to me because what are they going to
They
say?
can't.
But the fact
But
that they can't,
you got to believe it's going to chip away at it eventually, right?
I mean, eventually, the MSM is going to get to the point where they can't ignore it because we're going to make sure they don't. And I'm going to keep tweeting everybody at MSNBC, specifically the ones that follow me back, which eventually they're going to have to acknowledge me. You follow me back, let's talk. That is Nicole, Katie, Joy, Rachel, Simone Sanders, Katie Fang. Let's go. Lawrence knows who I am. Just fucking pull off the Band-Aid. Talk about the rape. It's okay. We support you talking about it. Telling the truth.
It's honest to God. One of the things that has protected Donald Trump is the fact that there are certain words and phrases that if you bring them up in discussing them, even though they are news and important, you will lose subscribers or you will lose ad rev or any of that stuff. So if you bring up, watch anybody who talks about this shit. They can't say child pornography. They can't say rape. If they say those words, they're automatically going to get a ding. But thanks to our Patreon people and the support that we have on this show, I can talk freely about this shit. But other people fucking tap dance around it. And it's one of the reasons why advertisers don't want to, put their money up in a segment that's talking about stuff like that, so people avoid it.
That's too bad.
And the problem is that allows it to go on unchecked.
Well, and then there are those of us who have no problem saying Donald Trump bareback raped children and then threw cash at them to get a fucking abortion. Those are his words. I'm just repeating what he said. If you have a problem with it, you should be taking it up with him and not hiding from it. When the truth is uncomfortable and scary, that's when you talk about it even louder, because you have to remove the stigma of discussing sexual assault. Whether it's on a child or an adult doesn't matter. Rape is an act of power and violence, and it needs to be discussed, and it needs to be destigmatized, and maybe we'll actually see some, a decrease in child porn and child rape and child sex trafficking and the abuse of women, because we'll be talking about it and holding people accountable and embarrassing them.
There was a huge drop-off after Obama and before Biden, I don't know what those years were like, of prosecutions for child predators. There was I wonder why. Yeah. During that time, they just stopped. It's like they stopped looking, or somebody told them, call off the dogs.
Or somebody installed a whole bunch of judges to make sure. Because eventually, when you find out that people who are sitting members of Congress are rapist, sex trafficking pedophiles like Matt Gaetz, they're really trying to protect their own. But why? Why are you choosing loyalty to Donald Trump over a raped child? I can say that. I can say that easily. And if you can't, you don't belong on a mainstream media news broadcast. If you can't speak truth to power in the way it should be spoken, you don't deserve that platform, because you're doing a disservice to the American people who have developed a trust in you. So if people turn on MSNBC and they see Joe and Mika, they've been seeing Joe and Mika every single morning. They trust Joe and Mika, but Joe and Mika are like, Mr. President, you scared me because you're old. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
You should be saying, I am disgusted that Donald Trump has been getting away with raping children for decades. Not hard. I just said it. Nope, no lightning strike. I'm good. I'm still here. So,
and the only reason it has to come up specifically is because we've glided right past the fact that he's an adjudicated rapist of adult women. And apparently, all of MAGA has been able to shrug that off. Now, credit is due to the people who finally found an off-ramp around Nikki Haley or something and that are going to stay that way. Kudos. But you should vote for Joe Biden specifically as a fuck you to get rid of that guy, because just standing down won't be enough. If you really want to show that you're against that kind of stuff and that you're trying to salvage your own party, you have to go the extra step and vote for Joe Biden to teach them a lesson in mandate. Otherwise, they're never going to change. Right. They're just going to say, we didn't say it the right way. We didn't sneak around.
The bottom line is that we're not supposed to be an autocracy or a dictatorship or an oligarchy. We are a free democracy.
Right.
And we need to, there is so much corruption in our government right now that needs to be cleansed, and the only way we're doing that is with our votes, and only if we vote for Democrats.
Compared to other times in our history, right now, corruption is in an all-time low. And the only places it does show up is in the legacy jobs like the Supreme Court. And it's because the Republicans know that they can't win nationwide increasingly. It gets worse every cycle for them, even if they manage to eke out they've got like a 1-vote lead in the House right now, and they think it's competitive this fall. I got news for you. It fucking ain't. And all this shit about 60 votes for... Yeah, the Republicans are going to win in the Senate this year. That's fucking gone. As a matter of fact, in the areas where Biden is the softest as far as voters, that's where the senators, the Democratic senators who are running against people, are doing the best, which means there's going to be a trickle up vote from those folks because they're not going to vote just for them and not for president. They're going to, those Democrats are going to show up to put a Democratic senator in there.
And you're going to be seeing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris out on the road a lot more. Donald Trump, while hiding in his bunker, in the span of time between the debate and today, Joe Biden has made 19 public appearances nonstop. Where's Trump? Hiding nothing. From the truth.
And it's going to get worse.
He knows he can't dispute. Guys, the truth about Trump is only going to get louder.
Yep.
So just so you know, remember in November, where were you on the child rape issue? Because this is what's going to end up ending him. If it's not, he's going to get sentenced in September. There's that tribunal that we're going to see that's like the pre-Jack Smith trial. Those two things together that's our October surprise, except it's not that much of a surprise because it's coming. We already know it's coming. But the things that we're going to learn in that tribunal will sink him even further.
Yeah.
Because what we think we know about January 6th is this compared to what we're going to find out from every single person who's going to testify against Donald Trump under oath. So it's only going to get worse for you, MAGA people.
Yeah, agreed.
And
thank you so much,
So
Tara, for being on here. Don't forget The Sound of Settling.
Book.
It's available, and there's a prequel sequel in the wings. We don't know which, but we'll only find out if people buy the book.
We gotta
so
get me a
pick
book
it up.
deal, y'all. We gotta get
TaraDublinRocks.com.
Hillreporter.com.
And she's now a writer for The Hill, which is fantastic. Thank you so much, Tara.
Not The Hill. Hill Reporter.
Sorry, Hill Reporter. Beg your pardon.
The Hill is trash. Politico is trash. Daily Mail is trash.
Agreed.
The New York Post is trash. Okay, thank you. I love you guys.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you later.
Stay
Bye.
safe.
There she goes. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, excellent. And thank you guys. Let me get the, chat. Let me get you in here. Hi, everybody. Yeah. Mitch goes by in November. I agree. Fuck the Hill. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. I will see you guys this afternoon, regular show, and lots to cover, not the least of which will be a bunch of people flailing and hoping that they're going to squeeze every last drop of this debate shit out before that talking point dies a raggedy fucking death this week. I'm telling you. I'm just saying I'm right. I'm right so far. Is Katie Porter running for? Yes. Adam Schiff is actually going to end up being the senator in California, more than likely. Just telling you. Anyways, I will see you guys this afternoon, 3:00 Pacific time. Like, subscribe, give us some support, share the show out, so it rings the dinner bell for the maggots, because they really, the trolls. Thank you guys so much for helping us with the algorithm. Just try to keep your bigoted language to a minimum. Just save it for the Patriot Front walk. You know what I mean? You can just whisper it to yourself as you smell your Cheeto breath in your balaclava. And I will see you guys this afternoon.